Good morning. Welcome to the Thrifty Winter Kitchen from Maryland Snap Ed. I'm your host, Krissa, and we are here in this series to talk about strategies and tips for preparing satisfying meals on a shoestring budget, if that's what you're dealing with, or even if you just want to save some money. Sometimes after the holidays, that's a top priority. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We love when folks introduce themselves in the chat. If you're in Maryland, let us know your county. If you're from outside of Maryland, let us know your city and state. Also, throughout the program, share your comments and questions. We'll try to answer questions as they come up or as we have time. And, just let us know what you think, other ideas that you have that other viewers might benefit from. So throughout the series, we have been focusing on a 3-step strategy for cooking inexpensive meals. And that strategy is plan ahead, shop smart, and reduce waste. So the past couple of episodes, and this one too, we're really talking about how to create meals without recipes, or really looking at a recipe and adapting it, or just sort of basic formulas for different types of meals so that you can assemble a recipe or you can assemble a meal without having to stick strictly to a recipe. And that really helps you with all of those. You can plan ahead to cook meals based on what you have already or what you buy frequently, so that if you have leftover ingredients, they don't go to waste because you're using those all the time. You can shop smart, so you can look for deals. You can buy in bulk when a deal is available, and you can then build meals around those inexpensive items. And then reducing waste. We're also talking about building meals around something that might be on the, we've got some carrots in the fridge that have been there in a while. How can I incorporate them into a meal, even if I don't have a recipe that calls for one? So to talk about that today, we are joined by Jessica Conjure. Jessica is our project leader and nutrition educator for SNAP Ed in Charles County, Maryland. So welcome, Jessica. And can you tell our viewers what's cooking in the Thrifty Kitchen today?
Good morning, Krissa. Yeah, so today we have sheet pan dinners. So this may take out the first two that we were talking about, the planning ahead and shopping smart. This is really a good one for reducing waste. A good way, like you said, to use up some of those things that you've got in the fridge, some things you maybe didn't know what to do with. And overall, the sheet pan dinners have a general formula. So like you said, we're going to show a recipe today, but there's a general formula that you can follow that will allow you to be as flexible, whether it's something that you've forgotten in the crisper drawer that really needs to be cooked immediately, or something that you're intentionally cooking today. So we're going to go over some of those tips, the recipe for it. The first one is that it's something that we want to do at high heat. So this is about 400 to 450 degrees, depending on what you have. I was trying to find some sort of formula, which way that went, depending on what kind of meat you have. But I think somewhere in that range is generally good to go for you. And if you're looking at something for about 4 servings, there are 3 main ingredients for that. So you've got the flavoring, about a 1/4 cup of marinade, and that could be something as simple as, oil, salt, pepper, or if you've got a really delicious dressing that you like, or maybe you want to play with a few different flavors, that's a good time to do that. your protein. So about a pound of protein. Today we're going to be using some chicken, but we're going to talk about some other options too for, herbivores and omnivores alike. And then also some veggies, right? So we've got at least two food groups in our meal today, and it's about 2 cups of veggies. So that could be, again, really whatever you have on hand. Something's about to spoil, or like I said, something you're intentionally putting on this sheet pan that you've got just for this.
Yeah, so I love that we're talking about reducing waste here, because you're not just reducing waste of ingredients, but you're also reducing waste of your time, because you are assembling all of this on a single sheet pan. It's all cooking together, and then you only have one dish to wash. So that saves you time as well. And that's an important, I think, component of reducing waste as well.
Exactly. And we're also going to add in another trick too. So it makes cleanup of the one dish that you're using even faster, which is always nice. Because I mean, doing dishes is never the most fun usually of eating or making dinner. So we're going to have some different veggies and proteins that we'll show you today. The veggies that we're going to use are diced. And in these sheet pan dinners, that's generally what we're going to do. Excuse me. And our proteins, you can dice or leave whole if you had a chicken breast or maybe a small slice of meat. That may alter the cooking times, but like I said, you can really play with it as you like, and depending on how much time you have. We're also going to talk about garlic. We have some garlic in our recipe today. I'm going to make sure to mention that. I tend to leave mine whole in the peel. Sometimes people chop them. I don't know, Krista, do you generally have a way that you add in garlic to your sheet pan dinners that you prefer?
Yeah, I tend to do kind of like a rough chop, so bigger chunks, just to kind of split the difference. My husband doesn't like getting a big whole chunk of garlic in his mouth at once. But also if they're chopped in tiny pieces, then that's when you might get them a little toastier, which can be a taste you like, but sometimes it tastes the flavor goes a little bitter if they get too brown.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show you the peel method as well to add another option on there. I mean, it sounds like you and I are both very much garlic lovers, so the more the merrier in my book. And with the sheet pan too, if you have some different items that you're cooking, so perhaps something has a little bit longer cooking time, this is a great way, right? We're still on the same sheet pan, but to just add it in a little bit later, set a timer, 10 minutes later, we're adding on a different veggie or something else onto the sheet. And today we're going to be using fresh. You can also use frozen if that is an option for you. It shifts the texture a little bit, but if that's what you've got and something you want to add in, by all means, it's still going to roast and taste delicious in the oven. And then, like I said, we have a little trick as well if you want to reduce some of the cleanup at the end that I will show you. So the recipe that we're, excuse me, goodness. The recipe that we're doing today is roasted sheet pan chicken, potatoes, and Brussels sprouts. So like we said, those are really interchangeable, but I am going to shift you down so you'll see more of my hands and a close-up of the ingredients to kind of give you a highlight of those things. And like I said, we're using fresh today. Ta-da, there's my lovely hands there. We're using fresh today. However, if you've got frozen or any other kinds, that's totally great. And as the recipe states, we are using chicken. Now, I've got chicken breast here. You could also use chicken thighs if you have that, or whatever other meats available. If you are not a chicken eater, also an option to use some of those lovely proteins in beans or whatever else you have on hand, maybe some tofu as well. Really the options are endless. So we've got our chicken. Like I said, these are chicken breasts. I cut it in half because it was a little big. And then we also have our potatoes. It calls for baby red potatoes. However, this can be, if you've got a sweet potato on hand, white potatoes, really whatever you've got. And then our lovely little Brussels sprouts. I know that Krista is a big fan of cabbages. I love Brussels sprouts as well, especially because they look like tiny cabbages, But I found these loose. Sometimes you can get them in a bag. Frozen as well might be, like I said, another option for you, but pretty simple. I mean, these are our three main ingredients. And from here, we're really just chopping and adding in some different flavors. So I'm going to switch over to my sheet pan here to kind of show you how this all comes together.
Excellent. And while you're doing that, I just want to say a warm welcome to Tasha, Jane, and Chris. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else that just joined, feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat.
So this was our lovely, I mean, this isn't really a trick. I'm sure everybody knows about this, right? Lining the sheet pan with some aluminum foil. Maybe you've got some parchment paper, really whatever you have. And then I did also have, I made this little boat here. If you want to get some engineering in your recipe as well. If you are cooking, maybe, as I mentioned, for herbivores and omnivores alike, you want to keep something separate. It can still cook on the same pan, right? And you're keeping all those juices and everything separated. So an option if you need it. So we are going to start with, it was 1 pound of potatoes. So I have diced those up. I'm not going to add them on yet. We have our Brussels sprouts. This was 1 pound, and it says to have them. I've quartered them because mine were pretty big. But like I said, any size that works well, just kind of making sure everything's in the general same size. And then our chicken breast. This was 1 pound of chicken breast. And then, like I said, this one was a little bigger, so I chopped it in half. And now for that marinade we talked about, right? All these veggies are great. When you add a little flavor, that makes it even better. I've got my little bowl here I'm going to add it into. We have some olive oil. You can use what you've got on hand. I've got about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then our lovely garlic. So I did mince this one up. It's about 1 to 2 tablespoons of garlic that we need. It's, I would say, about 2 cloves, but if you're a garlic fan, go gung-ho. If not, maybe lay low a little on that. You can also use garlic powder. I've got garlic powder here if that's more accessible to you. So we've got our oil, our garlic, and then this recipe, there's an optional addition of some rosemary or thyme. So I had just some fresh stuff that was thankfully still thriving in the garden. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of that in, both of those. And then, of course, our very traditional and basic, some salt and pepper. It's about half of a teaspoon for each. I'm doing the very technical measuring here of pinchfuls. And then we can give that a little stir. I'm just going to round it around there a little bit. Hopefully I'm not making everybody dizzy there. And then I'm going to throw our veggies and protein onto the tray. Now, I generally put things on the tray and then season them, but I've also done it in a bowl. Krista, do you have a preference as to how you season for these type of meals?
I am a big fan of the one less dish principle in all of my cooking. So, lots of recipes will say to toss in a bowl. And I will admit that's probably easier to get things more evenly coated in a bowl, but not as easy as not having an additional dish to wash. So I need to do it on the pan that I'm cooking in. I want to say a quick hello to Autumn and also to Razan, who I happen to know is our HOCO Snap Ed educator joining us. And she's enjoying her new baby at home. So welcome, Razan, and everyone else who's on with us.
Yeah, these are great dishes for when there is, a baby in the picture too. Super quick to get together and throw it in the oven. You don't have to stand at the stove. And then the best part of all, everybody likes a good massage. So we're just going to rub that all together. I'm going to rub it onto our chicken as well. And we were also mentioning about the garlic. So when it's on the pan, sometimes that's when it can get a little bit more crunchy or, cooked a little more well. So I'm going to try and put some of those on top. But, that's it. It would take you a while to make sure that every piece was on there. So just as best you can. And then the other thing I was mentioning about garlic earlier was just taking the whole clove. So I've got a whole clove here. I'm just going to Also give it a massage, you know, don't want to leave anybody out here. And throw that on the sheet pan. And there you have it. Everybody's got a little bit of space. And then we are going to throw this into the oven. The recipe says about 30 minutes. When I tried this earlier, it took about 20. So I would say, you know, check it at 15 and then add in time, you know, in maybe 5-minute increments or a little bit less until your potatoes are done and your chicken has an internal temperature of about 165. Not about 165, at least 165.
And if you don't have a food thermometer, it's a great tool to have on hand. You can get some very inexpensive ones, but if you don't have one, just cut that through that chicken and make sure that there's no pink all the way through. Also, the flavor profile here is absolutely up to you. Using in this, there was the thyme and the rosemary. Obviously, you could use dried herbs. Italian seasoning is a great one because it's a blend of a bunch of dried herbs together. But you could also go in a different direction. I could see using like cumin and turmeric to give it a different flavor profile. So if you have any ideas, smoked paprika is a favorite one of mine. Sometimes it can be hard to find, or just regular paprika as well. So if you have any additional ideas, please share this in the chat. And welcome, Tricia, by the way. Thanks for joining us from Carroll County. So while that cooks, we are going to share some other recipes that sort of follow this same protocol. So again, sheet pan dinners, one dish, throw all the ingredients together on a sheet pan, and out comes dinner, all the components in one place. So one recipe that we'd love to recommend is one dish roasted potatoes and apples with chicken sausage. That looks delicious and just as simple as can be. We'll put the link to that in the chat, as well as it's up there. It's kind of a long one, but you can click on it from the comments. So this follows the same basic formula: sheet pan, all the ingredients, put it in the oven, in a hot oven, and let it go. One of the other ones we wanted to recommend is honey lemon chicken. So this one is just the protein component, but you can add veggies. I think sweet potatoes would be great with this. Broccoli would be wonderful with this. Turnips would be great with this. So this is just a great starting point with a really nice flavor profile that's going to match well with the protein as well as with the veggies. Next one that we wanted to recommend is one pan pesto chicken and veggies. I thought this was a fun one to recommend because you can get that the marinade component from a pre-made pesto that you might be able to find at the store. Toss that with the chicken and with the veggies, or maybe you made some pesto this summer from your basil plant and put it in the freezer. Ice cube trays is always what folks seem to do to get little portions, and you can have your sheet pan chicken, pesto flavored chicken and veggies. And then last but not least, we have one that's just oven roasted veggies. This is a simple one. This is from the Maryland Snap Beds recipe database. You can add protein to this, but it gives you the basic formula for roasting veggies in the oven. Add chickpeas, tofu, or if you do eat meat, chicken or fish. And this makes a one pan meal. But of course, the take home message is you don't need a recipe. We're providing these just if you need something to refer to go off of, but be creative with what you have and follow that formula that Jessica shared with us. So sheet pan, hot oven, chunks of veggies, protein, some oil and seasoning to make it a marinade, pop it in, and dinner is served. So Jessica, let's take a look at your sheet pan.
The final creation. So I'll hold it up here, but I think you might get a better view. I'm going to put it down on my cutting board there as well. Hopefully it's,
we may have lost your cutting board.
Yeah, it's being funky. So I'm going to show you. All right. So this is when I did my, I kept the chicken in its own little pool there. So it's separate there, but then I've got some of the Brussels sprouts here. The potatoes are hanging out over here. And what you see up top are the I did some roasted chickpeas as well. So really, I mean, you are ready to go. And like I said, you can serve pretty much everybody with that one. And I also wanted to show you the little garlic trick I was mentioning earlier. So this is the whole garlic that I had and just roasted it, put that little bit of olive oil on it and roasted it. And you'll see that it comes out almost like a piece of whole garlic. However, at this point, it is just, you could spread this. It's really mushy, and you can almost use it like a spread on top of the chicken, or even any of the veggies or potatoes, whatever you've got on there. So just another option for your garlic as well.
Great. So let's talk about our upcoming episodes. Right. So next week is our last in our Thrifty Winter Kitchen series, and we're going to be applying the same concept to slow cooker meals. So how do you assemble a slow cooker meal? What you have on hand, set it and forget it. I have to say, I did not buy into the slow cooker cooking until I had kids and realized set it and forget it is something to be valued. So we're going to talk about how to assemble a slow cooker meal. So something you can put together, have it ready to go in the morning, hit start, and dinner's ready to go. We will then also be letting you know our plans for future episodes through the rest of the winter. And but if you have feedback, please share it. Things that you would like to see, short videos, just quick tutorials on things that would be useful to learn about in the kitchen. Other types of content, you can email that to eatsmartmd@umd.edu, or you can leave it a comment for us or send us a Facebook message. Make sure you've liked our Facebook page if you haven't already, and then turn on the notifications so that you receive reminders to join our live broadcasts. You can find all the recipes that we feature here on the Thrifty Kitchen at extension.umd.edu/eatsmart. That's our EatSmart recipe database. You can search by ingredients, so you can find recipes based on what you have in your kitchen. So make sure you check that out. Facebook page posts every day with nudges and tips and links to resources to help you eat healthy on a limited budget. Our YouTube page, we have all of our episodes of the Thrifty Kitchen and other Facebook Live episodes are archived there, but we also have lots of nutrition education, lesson videos, 2-minute recipe videos, physical activity videos. So that's a great source for your family. But also make sure you should follow us on Instagram. So thanks to all who joined us today. Thanks, Jessica, for the great tutorial on sheet pan dinners. It's not a term I had heard of until the last couple of years. It's such a simple concept, but such a great way to think about approaching preparing a meal. So thanks so much for your wonderful presentation, Jessica. Thanks to everybody who joined us. And we hope to see you back here next week. Bye-bye.